there's a story called the Erlkönig, and it means the Earl King. Earl is spelled E-R-L, and then König is K-O-N-I-G, and it was pronounced in English, anglicized Earl King. And in the Earl King story, it's about a dark forest. The Earl King is a soul stealer, a bloodless, malevolent, claw-handed creature who thieves the minds and hearts of humans so they become hollowed, like the withered woods that the Earl King himself lives in. And so, in the story, the way that it is told in our family, is that a father is riding through the forest on his horse, and he has his little son in his arms, and they're riding through the forest. The child, of course, has a vulnerable, childlike heart, and the father is more calloused, and he is, of course, older, and he's lived longer, and he's seen more. But suddenly the little child says, "Vater, is behind us something following us?" And the father says, "Oh, no, my son. There's nothing there. Nothing, there's nothing there." And the child's quiet a little more, and the horse just trots along in the dark forest. And suddenly the little child says, "Vater, don't you see the Erlkönig? He's there, I can see him. Don't you see him?" And the father says, No, you don't understand, son. There is no such thing. There is no such thing. Just lean against me now and be quiet. And they continue trotting through the forest. And the little child says, "Vater, don't you see he has on his crown and has a long train on his gown?" And the father says, No, my son. That's only the fog. You are only seeing the fog swirling, and you see, some of the branches in the trees, they look like a crown. And they continue to trot through the forest. And the child again says, "Vater, look, the Erlkönig is close by our side. Don't you see? He's here." And all of a sudden, as the father says, No, it's only the mist rising over the plain. The horse senses and feels the Erlkönig, and he gallops, begins galloping as fast as it possibly can. And the father is holding on for dear life, and the child too. And the child is crying, Vater, I tell you, the Erlkönig is here. And the father keeps saying, no, he is not. And finally, they arrive breathless, the horse wheezing at their destination, and the little child is dead in his father's arms. For the Erlkönig has stolen his father long ago, made it so that his father can no longer see the medial world, can no longer make sense of what the little child heart sees clearly, knows is a peril to itself. Child speaks pure. The father, in analytical psychology, we say the father as a symbol can represent the dominant culture that we live in, the one who tells us what to do, how to be, where to go, how to act, and so on. In this story, which incidentally is also a poem by Goethe, a very short, brief version of the story of the Erlkönig, in this story, the father portrays exactly what many, many gifted people have experienced in culture, and that is that whatever comes to steal their gifts early on in life, no, don't jump, no, don't play, no, don't explore, no, don't look, no, don't see, don't experiment, don't think, don't ask questions, just do as I tell you to do. That the father in the Erlkönig story reminds that this is an everyday occurrence in our lives, and something that Jung wrote about as having to be resisted. The idea of individuation, which is becoming one's own self entirely. And incidentally, that doesn't mean turning into a person who gazes. It means turning into a person who is so full and so rich that they overflow into the world, helping other hearts and souls to also become full human beings. Ser humano, as we say in Spanish. Ser humano, a true human being who is fully intact, with full ability to love, without shame, without apology. And a person who is able to stand at the center of both worlds and to mediate, moderate back and forth between the two, passing knowledge back and forth. So, in this story, the horse, a symbol of the horse, an ancient idea. My Mojor father used to tell me that you had to be so careful when you had a horse who loved you, because it would literally run its heart out for you and kill itself. That a horse has such fealty, such loyalty to humans that they love, that no matter how hard you ride them, they'll keep running and running and running, even to their own detriment, out of love for you, out of believing that you really have somewhere to go, something to see, something that's important to you. And in the erlkingstorytelling story, you see that even though the father is asleep, the instinctual psyche, as represented by the horse, is wide awake. After the child continues to say, but Vater, it's following, it's hurting, it's coming to take me away. Not the father, but the instinctual nature begins to gallop, begins to try to outrun what is in the culture that says, it's all right to live deadened, it's all right to live not in your fullest mane, it's perfectly all right to cut yourself off in every direction. Well, it's perfectly all right. In fact, it makes you a really nice worker for other people. It makes you a really obedient person who behaves yourself. And yet, again, where do great ideas come from? Do they come from the well-behaved? Where do great ideas, great endeavors come from? Do they come from people who obey all the minutiae of life? Oh, they don't. They come from the edges. They come from the frontiers. But one has to be alive in order to see them and hear them. And thus, we move into the idea again of how do you keep the medial nature alive, especially when you live in a culture that day after day after day, in so many ways, tells you, no, we're not going to talk about soul. This is the breakfast table. No, we're not going to talk about soul. This is the conference room. No, we're not going to talk about soul. I'm talking to you about our relationship. No, I'm not going to talk to you about soul because it has no relevance. You can translate. You can translate for yourself where this occurs daily in the life that you live. And as I said, Jung said that you have to leave the collective, and what he meant by that is the culture. That you have to turn away from the culture for a period of time and examine what is it that you're made of? What is it that you've brought here? What message, what challenge, what reason for being do you have for being on this earth? A lot of people think it's easy to be born. I don't think so. I think it's very rare. I think that when people are born, it's a miracle. Given how many times a soul lives to be born, given all the things that can occur in between conception and birth and beyond, it's a miracle to be in this life. Given the wars that are fought in this world that murder children by the thousands day after day, it's a miracle to not only be born but to remain alive in this world. There's a reason that we carry with us. When so many fall left and right beside us, there's a reason for us to be doing what we do, thinking what we think, feeling what we feel, seeing what we see, and bringing it into a world that literally is starving to death. The erlkingstorytelling is everywhere, and it's not meant to be a spooky thing that will be relegated to a little, sort of cute little figurine at Halloween. That's a very serious element in the psyche of any individual. Any of us carry the erlkingstorytelling. And if we allow it to take us over, in part by not resisting where it touches us in our culture, then we become deadened and we pass that deadening on to others.